energy drink we had a few hours ago. Now, let's do it. So I've just been twiddling my fingers, waiting for you guys.
Well, the wait is over because we are live right now. So,
Hey, good morning.
yeah, good morning, everybody.
Morning, world.
Yeah, welcome to Drawing for Tattooers. I'm your host, James Wisdom, and with me today we've got Medusa Slays, Elise, Amber, Steven. Thanks everybody for coming. It's great to have you. How's it going, gang?
Busy.
Going good.
Yeah, good. So Medusa was telling us just before we went on, you're running on a little bit of sleep, but you're super excited because you're getting tattooed today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
awesome.
Try to get a nap in before the tattoo. 'Cause I don't want to try that. I don't want to try getting tattooed with no sleep.
You might get a good nap out of it. I think more people should try it.
Yeah.
Be one of those people
That's
that
me.
falls asleep during their tattoo.
Maybe. You never know.
Oh, God, those people.
Oh,
that
no,
fall
you
asleep
don't.
during the tattoos. Just like, wake up. You can't fall asleep at the bar. You can't fall asleep during the tattoo.
Right.
You gotta be here with me. If I'm stuck with you, you're stuck with me.
No,
Oh, that's
that's my
good.
story. The one that I got, I slept through the entire thing. I don't even remember most of it.
Really?
I would say I would sleep through like 80 to 90% of the tattoo.
You luck.
She had to like tap me to wake me up at the end.
Mm.
You ever have that happen, Steven? Anybody do your customers ever fall asleep?
Anybody fall asleep?
Do they? Do they ever
Uh,
fall asleep? Do you ever fall asleep
uh,
getting tattooed?
No. And I've had one person fall asleep, but if somebody says they're trying to, I tell them I'm not about it. They got to be awake. You know what I mean? Like I'm afraid that they might jump or something in their sleep or have some sort of adverse reaction. So you got to be awake.
That is, I think that's sound advice. It's always
Yeah.
good.
I just remember like that news story, like
The lady's
it's
face?
been like 10. Yeah, the lady's
With the
face. And she's
stars?
like,
Yeah.
yeah, where she's like, I fell asleep and they did this, and I was like,
Yeah. And then you find out that she actually asked for it.
yeah, but like I'm always afraid, like if somebody falls asleep or anything, they're gonna wake up with the tattoo that they fucking asked for, that they wanted, that we agreed to, but then they're gonna be all like, I was asleep and I didn't want that. And I'm gonna be like, well, you gotta be awake. You gotta be
Yeah.
awake and tell me
I
no
just-
if you don't.
I can't imagine falling asleep during a tattoo. I can't. I mean, I don't hate it like some people do, but I can't imagine falling asleep.
Well,
My
it was,
best friend
she
does
had me
it.
reclined back. I was like snuggled up to the side. She had a very soft voice. Like it was a very,
A very tranquil environment.
yeah.
Where were you getting tattooed?
Oh, it was someplace in Crown Point. It was called Black Raven, Black Ink or something. I can't remember the place,
Where
but it
on
was
your
in Crown Point.
body?
Oh, the place. It's on my arm. I
Okay.
found the place.
Alright. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I dozed off a little bit when I was getting my forehead tattooed, but I took a Xanax.
That'll do
So-
it.
I can see having to do
So-
that before you get your forehead tattooed.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna like say that people should do that.
Yeah. This is not medical
We are
advice.
not
This is for
advocating
entertainment
for the
purposes
use
only.
of-
Yeah, right.
Substances.
I make my own poor decisions. Don't
Right.
do what I do.
Exactly.
No, yeah, it's so right. Bactine works better than drugs, right? You gotta just use lots of Bactine. It numbs the area really nicely. You know, makes it much more tolerable. So be sure to use that. It's it's a really it can be really helpful, right? Especially on those long ones. You start, get the skin all opened up, right? Lots of tattoo going on, and then Bactine. I know that's always just like knowing that it's coming. It's like, oh, I feel better already, right? So
Well, now
back team
I've
is,
seen I've seen that some tattoo artists don't like using the like creams or whatever because they say that it can mess up your lines or whatever. Is that true or no?
I have
I,
noticed.
yeah, I don't know. Hey everybody, I'm like for some reason we're not live right now for whatever
Oh
reason.
no.
So let
Oh
me
no, I just noticed that.
yeah, somebody just let me know. So let me see if we can't figure it out. So you all yeah, talk amongst yourselves.
So what were you saying, Medusa?
Hmm.
I was gonna say, I actually have a client who, she is so amazing, and we finally finished a project that we'd been working on for a long time. She's wonderful, but she just can't sit for very long, and everybody's pain tolerance is different, so
Mm-hmm.
not her fault. But as we've been going on through the course of our appointments, she's been trying out different numbing things, and like I can tell when she uses a different product
Mm-hmm.
because of how her skin reacts. And I
Mm.
don't remember which stuff did what, because I mean she couldn't remember the brand names or anything either. She's but like it is really different for everybody. And some artists will say they don't like it because they've had one person come in where their skin got like super rubbery and inflamed and
Mm,
didn't really react
Oh.
very well after applying the thing. So they don't want to take that risk for anybody. But
Yeah.
that is a person to person thing. And like with this client in particular, I think she went through like 2 different creams and then a spray stuff. And the
Mm-hmm.
spray stuff, I remember because it lasted longer. She was able to sit longer. I was able to like go like do a second pass over a couple of parts and everything without her flinching. And the
Mm-hmm.
skin didn't get all puffy and raised and rubbery. So like it's there's so many variables. It really is
yeah.
different with every product and every person's skin type. And I think generally when an artist says, I don't like it, I don't want to do with it, it's because they probably have had somebody with the wrong cream, with the wrong skin type, and they don't want to take that risk for everybody, which is fair.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
And
know,
if
like
you
always
leave
play it safe.
if you leave the topicals on too long before the tattoo, it makes the hair follicle areas harder to tattoo.
Oh,
I didn't know that.
wow.
Yeah, I've had ones like you're supposed to leave the topical on for an hour before you start. If you leave it on for more than an hour, things get really swollen because there's ephedrine in it, which
Mm.
it makes the parts where the hair would come out really hard to tattoo.
Weird.
I've done tattoos where it was packed solid, and then when it healed, everywhere a hair was growing in was no ink.
Weird.
But I like the sprays you use after you break the skin, like what's it called? Saint Mark makes it holy water.
I hear
You
a lot of
spray it on,
really good things about holy water.
yeah, you spray it on after you've broken the skin, and it really does start to work instantly without changing the texture of the skin too much.
Yeah, I've heard that holy water basically has the same reliable effects as Vaseline, minus like the blood vessel constriction and stuff that everybody had problems with Vaseline. And that's
Yeah,
why
that's because
Vaseline
it's
kind of
got
fell
ephedrine
out
in
of
it
pop.
and it
Yeah.
constricts the blood vessels.
Yeah. I'm a slut for some Bactine, and I do not mind
Mm.
slathering it all over my clients, because the longer they can sit without twitching and complaining, the better I can just like do my fucking tattoo and get it done.
And get in your zone.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean Bactine works fine. I personally am think if you really need that numbing thing before the tattoo, like for me, I'm just like, go ahead and test it out on your skin first and see how it reacts before your appointment. Talk to your tattooist, and do it if they say you can do it, But the best thing is always to let your adrenaline do the work on your body for you. And if you really need it after the skin's broken, maybe some Bactine to help take the edge off. But your adrenaline's going to do more for you than any lidocaine, temporary lidocaine will.
Mm,
I read a story, or it was about somebody, maybe Post Malone or somebody, like, anyway, like he did like a whole, like he got anesthesia and got all this tattoo work done. This was like so within the last year, I believe, something like that.
Whoa.
I read
Um,
something about that.
yeah, uh, that is wild. Again, we were
I
talking
think
about like
that's a
falling
little
asleep.
dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go under anesthesia
Right, right.
for a
The
non.
statistics of not waking up from anesthesia are big
Yeah,
enough that unless I need like life-saving surgery of some kind, no thank you.
Hmm.
yeah. Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
well, if you can, if you can afford to have it done, it's very expensive to have anesthesia done, and so it's
Uh-huh.
very
Yeah.
prohibitive sort of situation. But um, well, hey, I just want to let everybody know, like, for some reason our stream isn't working. I know that earlier, like this weekend, there was we had to reconnect some of the tech together.
Mm.
Oh, oop. Sorry. Anyway, so for whatever reason, the stream isn't working now. I did have some stuff to share. I figured that we could share it, and I could basically talk about the thing I was going to talk about today. Even though it's probably not going to work. I just texted Gabe, and he hasn't gotten back to me. So I don't know if this is gonna, like, I don't know if this will go out to YouTube or not. But I wanted to let everybody know. You know what I mean? That we're for whatever reason, it seems like the show is broken today. So yeah, sorry
We've
about
been
that.
let
But
loose.
I'm still glad that everybody was able to make it too. I really, I appreciate everybody coming, and it's awesome. So, um, right. So, uh, I wanted to just like let you all know that, make that like, the general announcement. So, um, yeah. So let me share. This is what I was going to share today. Let me see if I can share my screen. Right. Cool. So I wanted to talk about Gestalt. So, all right. Now, this is a word I know, Elise, you'd be familiar with it. If
Yeah.
you've never heard of this as a concept before, Gestalt was developed by psychologists, Gestalt psychologists, and it's a way of thinking about how we visually organize space, how we perceive things. This is really helpful in terms of designing stuff. So there's some basic language that I think once a lot of it, of course, you've heard these words before, and it'll probably make sense. And if it feels intuitive in a certain way, that makes sense because these are like psychologies that are, I think, that are working, for that we're always sort of like using all the time whenever we're looking at stuff, whenever we're designing things. But being aware of them can really help you be a lot more intentional as far as, like, your designing process goes. So just want to talk about a couple of these really sort of simple ideas. And so this was a presentation. It was made by a former colleague named Misha Goro, and it's based on the work of Walschlager and Snyder in their book, Basic Visual Concepts and Principles for Artists and Architects. So, continuance, or continuation. Um, this is the first principle that we're going to talk about. And so when figures are, just kind of read this for you, like when figures are arranged in such a way as we have a direction, they seem to continue. And so this property can be used for figures or a group of figures. So we'll look down here. And so with this example, we can kind of see just visually, right? These three smokestacks. Um, even though their steam is not connected, right? They're not physically connected. We visually, right? We will continue, our eyes will move along this pathway. Um, a lot of times when you talk about like, painting a landscape or something like that, you wouldn't want to have the trees in continuance, right? Because it moves the eye, right? So you can actually move the eye sort of you know, out of your like sort of area of interest. Um, but this is a phenomenon that happens, right? I feel like we can really see that. You can probably go either direction, either sort of, over to the left or up and to the right. This is this is just sort of an invisible line that we infer, right? So as far as designing things, you may want to use this principle or you may want to avoid it. But again, continuation, continuance, we're using these words interchangeably. This might be sort of helpful for you to think about. And so the other way that we see this happening all the time, uh, constellations, right? That concept. When you We'll talk about another concept that helps out with this, but obviously sort of like aligning stars, you know, this is something that people have done for millennia. And how do they, how can you sort of convey that to others, right? It's through this phenomenon, this continuation, continuance, when our eyes will move and scan across the scene. We're going to make these connections, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's really fascinating, and I'm sure sort of like, you can hopefully you'll start thinking about this, like, oh yeah, there it is. This visually, this line sort of continues. There's another really great example here, right? We can see um, see all these pillars, right? And they're moving visually, right? There's our eyes are just sort of, they're sort of led, if you like, right across the flow. So yeah, even though these pillars are divided, right, separating the pedestrian zone from traffic, they're not physically connected, but ah, our perception groups them together, right? So it has a clear sense of direction. Again, so this is something that that you may sort of um, and naturally and intuitively sort of pick up on, something that you kind of probably do already. But this is thinking about it in terms of a concept, continuation, continuance, similarity. So as far as similarity, we tend to group things based on their similarity, right? Again, that's kind of what this whole concept is about. It's about being able to group things together, and for design purposes, right? For us, how do people see? How do people think about things? So, um, I always like this example. So we see these very similar like shapes, right? But because of their orientation, we're going to naturally kind of group them right into their vertical or their horizontal relationship. So, when we see a pattern like this, um, or we're trying to develop one, this is the sort of mode that you can start to get into. You can think about how similar are things, right? Or how can I group them in such a way that's going to help this, help convey. I think there's of course like a third pattern that's not being sort of explicitly stated here, and that's all the space between all of these little shapes, right? So again, there's another pattern, So if we were going to use if you were going to design some sort of you know geometric shape for a tattoo, let's say, or any sort of pattern based thing, sort of having this repetition of similarity, again, that's a way to add some continuity. Or of course, like making things dissimilar is going to um, bring some variety. So there's another example here. right? So again, tonal value in this case, right? All of these are squares. They're all the same size, but we're going to kind of naturally group them in relation to their tonal value, how dark, how light. And these are, again, this is sort of intuitive. This is how people like to, they tend to think about things. So, so yeah, instead of just this single block unit, there's a little bit of variety, right? If this were all just solid, it would certainly be interesting to a certain degree, or could be beautiful. But at the same time, having this difference, it ends up like kind of making it have variety, have more interest, have some sort of like differentiation, and right, similarity. This is the ah. So here's where I think this is a really nice example of like how is this sort of thing uh, really important. Well, we can see like hopefully you can see like railroad tracks and then like a crosswalk. And so, the fact that we can sort of instantly recognize this is really going to help us sort of navigate the world, right? It's good that you can see that, so you don't inadvertently step on the train track at the wrong time, or that you make sure that you get into the crosswalk. These sorts of you know basic intuitions. Um, Again, we're thinking about it in terms of like how do we organize space? How do we see when we see shapes? How do we perceive them? How do we read them? And so again, there's a similarity. In this case, we're talking about like things that are similar. The train tracks, they're all similar. The crosswalk shapes, they're all similar. We group them together very quickly, instantaneously almost. You're going to see the patterns, you're going to recognize them. But when it's when you're just sort of going about your day, you may not necessarily, uh, you may not necessarily be aware that you're perceiving all of this information and processing it in a certain way. So this is again just sort of just a reminder, an awareness of how complicated it, that all the visual stimuli is, right? So if we can break it down into simple things, right? Like we just talk about continuation, similarity, these sorts of simple things, it's going to help us communicate better. It's also going to help us with our, when we're composing things. Again, sort of another great example of these similar shapes, right? Grouping them in particular ways, right? Based on their similarity. So these flowers versus this leaf motif, very nice. And then again, so alternating in a certain way, there becomes a rhythm, right? There becomes a pattern, and this is an example of similarity. All right, proximity. All right, so again, we're talking about Gestalt. It's design. It's about sort of thinking about how design works, and so when we're thinking about design, we're grouping things together. So continuation, as we saw before, helps us sort of move our eye around. It's continuation of our eye movement. Similarity, we're recognizing the shapes, right, of and relating things together, right? So like we just saw the flower and the leaf, we're relating those things together, right? There's flowers, there's leaves. We've made two groups. We're grouping things together. Proximity, we're going to relate things together based on how close they are together as well. This is fairly again intuitive, but this can be very helpful. So right, so here's an example of hieroglyphs. So in terms of these hieroglyphs, we're thinking about them, right, as instead of just one big block of like unintelligibility, they are approximate, and we can see them based like in rows, right? You can see how it's illustrated here. These rows help us distinguish, the relationship. This line, like line number, the top line, we can now read that, right? Because of the fact that these things are proximate together, and their relationship, I think, is it's orderly. And again, this is how writing really works. So thinking about things in terms of like how closely we put them together, it's gonna necessarily relate, right? We're going to relate things because of how their proximity to one another. A really interesting, example here of this group marching around. So we can see, right, that there's all of this marching band, right? They're marching down the street, but we're going to group them into distinct, discrete groups, right? There's a larger group. There's and then there's a slightly smaller ones. But again, how are we doing this, right? Because they have a proximate relationship to one another, right? So the proximity of all of the individuals, right? They form these little groups, right? And then, of course, all of them together make a much bigger group. So this is the principle of proximity. Again, probably very intuitive to you. I like this one too. I don't know what this picture is from, but it's like maybe it's like an estate sale or something like that. But again, so there's rows of individuals, right? One spoon, for example, it might mean something. Maybe it's how you eat your cereal or whatever, stir your coffee. Once you start putting them together with other things like fork and a knife, now it starts to mean, oh, there's maybe that's a dinner plate. Once you've got like a dozen spoons, like 4 dozen forks, it starts to mean something different, right? So all this proximity starts to form a larger whole, right? That you're a whole thing that is going to be other than just the sum of its parts, right? So we've got one spoon or something like that. That's one part of this group. But once we start adding all of the things to it, other spoons, other forks, these watches, there's watches down in the corner. Again, there starts to become something different at play. And so again, we're looking at things, we're organizing them. We're separating from the background. We talked about this a little bit last time, this idea of figure and ground. So there's all these forks, these spoons, they're like figures. We're separating them away from the background. We're also recognizing them in terms of their similarity. The spoons all are similar, right? The forks are similar to the other forks, and so on and so forth. Next, we're grouping them because there's some organization here, right? So we can separate them from each other, but all of this is sort of happening like background. You're doing it mentally, and you may not be aware that you're doing it, but you're organizing things visually all the time and perceiving them and trying to contextualize it, trying to think about like ascribe meaning to it, thinking about like what could be being conveyed, what could be sort of being meant by it. And these are again, you think about again some continuation, similarity, proximity in terms of your designing. Again, it can be very powerful for you and help you become very intentional. Here's some more groups, right? Again, there's all these people sitting around a table, and we can see clearly like that we just, like we're going to group them, group number one, group number two. You could go further and start to think about similarity, right? How many people are standing versus how many people are sitting. How many people have things in front of. Go down the list, right, of all the similarities and all of the proximities that you have. But again, there's like going to be a sort of a basic level where you're thinking about like grouping things into discrete groups, number one and number two here in this case. Closure. So all right, so the first three things that we talked about, continuation, similarity, and proximity. Those are grouping laws or principles, right? They help us to think about how we group things together. This last one, closure, is is about imagination. And so I think that this idea kind of helps to tie the other ones together in a certain respect. So um, see, closure is a property of both perceived shapes and the proximity of similar shapes. Viewers have a tendency to close or complete incomplete figures or grouped configurations. So let's check it out. Right. So this very famous symbol, the heart shape. We think about it, it reads as love. We're culturally conditioned to see it that way, but so again, that wouldn't necessarily be intuitive. But if you can, if you can read language, you can read English words. I think there's a strong likelihood that you have encountered this shape and understand it to have a symbolic meaning, right? So when we place it here, right, when we see this very famous artwork by Milton Glaser, we can read that as saying, I love New York, for example. Again, this is a maybe think about other ways this could work. Like sometimes people would maybe use a rose or something like that. Again, you could also there's other symbols that have that have meaning, and again you can almost place them as a word, as language, right? So this is an example of closure. This is an example of how our imaginations will start to work in terms of the groups, and also give us a little bit more meaning, a little more context. So how can you read words that don't necessarily that aren't aren't completed, right? We'll close them. So in this example, it's illustrated over here. It says look right. I would suggest you could probably make out this word probably without this without the helpful example next to it. Why? It's because of this notion of closure, that we as perceptive beings, we're going to use our imagination to try to bring together what it is that we're going to try to think about, what it is that we're looking at. We're going to try to understand it. So I like this. I always like this illustration. Again, so in terms of graphic design, I think we're gonna think that we're sort of seeing this, this person's head, right, becomes their hair, becomes all these words. What we can see, I think, all of these other examples of these ideas, these grouping ideas, used here. So, for example, the proximity, right, of all of the words to this person's head. We group those together as it's a part of the same group, but distinct, right? There's words and there's this person's face, but even though we can make that distinction, they're so close together, we're going to see them as as a particular group, right? Again, there's a similarity. They're all there's all letters there, right? So there's similarity. There are letters, so we can read them. And then again, there's a continuation, right? There's all of the words are arranged in a certain way that we can read them. It's not just a jumble of letters in this particular case, and they're organized so that way you can read distinct words, groups of words as sentences, and then of course we're going to relate all of those words that are the hair as as likely being a cohesive group of words. Then we can't help but to sort of relate it to this person's head, right? And then again, through closure, we might start to think about a meaning. Maybe that's what this person is thinking about. There's the word thoughts that's included at the bottom as well. Again, another sort of strong connection. Word to the word to whatever it is that seems to be sort of illustrated through the image. So closure, imagination, right? So to kind of close on that, like that's what is always happening, right? There's sort of we're always imagining like what it is that we see. We want to come up with some sort of we want to try to understand it. We want to make it meaningful. But where does it begin? And again, so these very simple ideas, continuation, visual continuation, similarity, grouping things that are similar together, right, in shape, in size, in terms of tonal value, right? Um, Proximity, how close are things together? Like how close are things related together? Like how close are they to one another? When they're very close together, we're going to group them, right? As these are this I'm to read this as a group of things, right? Or as or like my coffee cup, right? It seems like one thing, but it's all these different parts, right? They're all similar in terms of color, but but this part is different from this part, and there's a void in it, and there's coffee in it, right? It's a group. It's a group of things. When you were designing, let's say you're designing it for a tattoo, right? You're going to have a group of things, you may have a group of things that are trying to come together. You may have to put a new tattoo next to other ones, right? They're always going to be related in some way, right? Because of their proximity. They're going to be related in some way because of their similarity. They're also going to be related in how it moves, how it flows, the continuation on the body. I want to try to tie this to sort of things that we're interested in too. But do you have to memorize all these terms and stuff? Not really. It's I wanted to talk about it, and I think it's a very interesting concept. And I also feel like when you do start to engage with some of these ideas, again, it can really be powerful insofar as like bringing intention to your work, bringing intention to your critiquing, right? So if you're going to critique your own work, you're going to critique the work of others, you could really use some of these notions to, to bring together, something very constructive. So anyway, that was it. That was what I wanted to talk about today. Was was those design ideas and stuff. Thank you
You
so much
basically
for listening.
explained to me why I put together my still lifes the way I do.
I hope that was that you were able to take something from that and connect it to because it was really basic, right? There was a lot of
Yeah.
really basic stuff in there, but I think you can really I know for me, like it really was it's really there's even though it feels basic, it's really kind of challenging to comprehend it or to really put it into play. So I don't want to pretend like it's easy, but there's a basic quality to it that I think can really be helpful. And so I guess I do think about similarity and then flow or continuation, um, how things are proximate. I think about it a lot when I'm designing stuff, and so uh, I I've found that it's helped me as I once as I've continued to develop in my my practice. And so I was hoping that this would be useful and helpful for you all as well. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think it does help to think about, just because I know sometimes there's a struggle with making things feel alive. You can get into kind of a rut of making things seem too cookie cutter. like how you were talking about all of the pieces connect, so it just seems a bit too much like, oh, a computer could have done that. So making it seem more natural by being aware of that and breaking it up can really help.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think uh, there are times when you will want to use some of that stuff in order to like sort of to manipulate it, right? You're going to want to use it so that way it's to your advantage. Um, but I think occasionally, things can be sort of happening, like something's too close together, there's too many similar things, or there's not enough similar things, it's too disjunct. Our eye moves out of the composition, these sorts of things. I think it relates to the idea of like of tangency as well. So, sometimes like, sometimes like, you'll have a line sort of align with another line, and it's like, it's, it can sort of, it can be a really powerful moment because our eye will be attracted to it. But at the same time, it can be a very distracting moment too. So if it's not your intention, then being aware of it, I think it's gonna, can help you avoid like, uh, distracting things from your composition. So whenever you're composing things, it can really be um, uh, good to take a step back, think about the basic sorts of relationships, and that can really be, that can really be helpful too. So.
Mm-hmm.
I think the grouping of things together can also help you establish your foreground and your background in tattooing. Because if you make sure you group the background image, images together, and then you group the foreground images together and give them a dynamic contrast, it makes a better tattoo.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I agree that playing with that, sort of playing with that notion, you can certainly, I think, have more command of what it is that you're trying to develop, image wise. So, if you want to have similar things in the foreground, similar things, sort of middle ground, similar things in the background. Um, Again, you can sort of play with this idea. You can use different scales, different sizes of things, and that can also like using them using them in different registers, you have something that's like similar in the foreground, in the background, but at a different scale. Perhaps it becomes another thing that like adds interest, that adds meaning, something that can
Yes.
be readable for uh, your design. So again, the you probably heard this before. The whole, right, is yeah, the greater than the sum of its parts, that sort of phrase, right? um I stumbled over it, but the idea is that the whole thing is other than the sum of its parts, right? Like once you start to group, like you talked about, like foreground, middle ground, background, those three elements, right, those are groups within a larger whole system, right? Once you
Yes.
put them all together, it becomes something other, right? It becomes a scene, right? Other than just like, maybe there's maybe there's something really specific, one thing in the foreground, but that's not the whole scene. That's not the whole sort of picture. And so thinking about how each one of these components, uh, like a symphony, they all work together to sort of to create a larger composition. Well, this is the thing as designers, because that's what we do. Even if even if you're just taking like individual, you know, design, flash designs, right? Somebody's getting them all over the place. You're still in the placement composing a larger composition. Does this make sense? And even, like even if somebody says like stick it here, it still is, you're still putting it in a particular way, in a particular place, right? there's all sorts of decisions that are going to ultimately be up to you as the designer. And so again, I think that's the idea, or that's the idea, to sort of keep it simple and to try to think about how things relate in certain ways. So, um, so yeah, I hope that was enjoyable, and I hope that, like, you know, kind of talking like kind of like thinking about when you start learning bones, right? You start learning human anatomy. You can kind of develop like this extra sense, like almost like an X-ray vision. Um, uh, that when you start thinking about these basic groups, we start thinking about these basic sort of design ideas, that you start seeing the world in a different way, right? That you start maybe seeing your own work in a different way. Um, because ultimately, if you can break things down into shape, value, and edge, those notions will really take you really far. I think they're really going to be very helpful in sort of cutting through all of the complexity, whatever it is that you want to end up sort of conveying. Instead, you'll start to pay attention to those very basic things, relate them particularly, and be much more intentional, be much more efficient in your compositions and the way you make work. So, um, so yeah, yes, Medusa.
Hey, actually, that I really like what you're getting at about relatability, like the viewer being able to like understand the concepts immediately and everything. Yesterday I was listening to an interview about marketing for artists and creating content, and a big topic that they were hitting on is that people really like things that they understand and that they're familiar with. Like, as we all know, like people that don't understand something are more likely to either be afraid of it, not like it, want to push it away. So I really like that your examples are things that people already understand. The relatability is not just a way to create something that can be perceived the way it's supposed to be perceived, but it also attracts people if they understand it. Like that statue, for example, it's missing a head and arms, but I know it's supposed to be there and I like it because I already know what it's supposed to be. But if I didn't understand what heads and arms were, I would be confused as fuck and probably be like, that's a stupid statue. Like, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
So I mean, I haven't really seen a person walking around without a head or arms, but like, I know that that's supposed to be there. So like, but yeah, no, I was just thinking about the whole relatability thing. People like what they understand and can relate to.
Mm.
So that's also just an attraction, a visual attraction. Sorry, I don't know if I worded
no,
that
thank
wrong.
you. No, I appreciate that. I think that's like I'm glad that it's that it what we talk hopefully what I was, the things I was talking about didn't seem too out of left field. I know that the terms, so this was like, so what I just talked about is has always been a really big part of what I've had to teach in the past. It's always been something that that was really emphasized as a really important concept uh, for art students to get behind. And I think the language, sort of using these words, can be daunting. Again, it's like, oh, I've heard these words before, but like really using them, um, again, it's not relatable necessarily, right? But hopefully with some of the visual, uh, you know, relationship, sort of um, see these images and then relate them to the language, because a word um, helps you hold on to something. All right, like mentally, you have a picture of something in your mind, you have a word to go with it. there's a lot of connection that you have now. So I think uh, it's always it's a challenging subject matter. This and the language feels foreign in a certain respect, but the whole idea is really simple. It's about being simple, right? Rather than it is simple. It's about simplicity, and so and relatability, just like Medusa was talking about. Like hopefully, it's things that people can understand. So, and I guess I just I right away I think about like designing kind of pattern or something for tattoos, like a like a geometric pattern, or what's referred to as tribal, that sort of a thing, right? Yeah, yeah, um, that's how I want to relate these things together. They're really a lot of graphic design is sort of based on these ideas. So when you think about how words are laid out on in magazines and stuff, a lot of these ideas are just um, very common for graphic designers to use, and that falls on us too, right? Like we have to use when you're designing tattoos, you got to put words in there all the time. Somebody wants the names in it. You know what I mean? And it's like you know, um,
Or they just want a name this big.
Oh, wow. It's a bold
I just
choice.
did an arm, just
Yeah.
the whole forearm.
Now I
Guy
have
named his kid Dominance.
oh,
what are you gonna say, Elise?
I have a question when it comes to designing a tattoo and value, and I'm hoping that I can pose this in a way that doesn't sound problematic. So people come in an array of colors, right? So when you're designing a tattoo, let's say you haven't seen the person, like if you design a tattoo like on a white like a white screen, and then the person comes in and you go, oh no. um is there something different you have to do? Because I know when I was looking for a place to get my tattoo, I'm just like, I don't see any brown people portfolio. I'm not going here. Like that's my thought, because I know I've seen tattoos on people my complexion. I'm just like, it doesn't look right. So I just wonder, because I see a difference between people's tattoos. Like, oh, that shows up better than this. Like, is there a different way to account for value in that way? I don't know if I said that correct.
I don't think any artist should be tattooing on a canvas that they haven't seen
Mm,
yet.
Yeah.
Even with like long distance tattooers and stuff, even if you're doing like a consultation through email,
mhm.
the artist will usually ask to see the area you want tattooed or ask for a video call first. But yeah, there is a value change versus the tone of skin. With darker skin tones, usually you want to heighten the contrast a little bit, but I'm not nearly as experienced as I think Stephen and James would be. So
Mm.
I just wanted to say nobody should be tattooing some skin they haven't looked at yet.
Yeah.
Just like run away.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Steven, what do you think?
I think Medusa's right. You just boost the contrast. I mean, I think at a certain point, you'll lose detail on if his skin's dark enough. But if you boost the contrast, then you should still be able to tattoo him. You just might not get so many midtones.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I think that's all very sound advice, and it makes sense, right? So there's a certain, uh, you you really get a false impression on like a white piece of paper, right? And so when so much flash when I first started tattooing was all on white background, you know what I mean? So or even if it's like brightly colored, it's still like bright colors against a on top of a white background, right? So you're totally right that there is going to be this difference, because there's so many different complexions. There really are. There's just a myriad complexions. And so how do you design for that? You do need to take into consideration, you know, an individual's specific needs. And
Mm.
so, yeah, no, you may like, how do you increase the contrast? I think through some of these ideas that we were just talking about, like you may like sort of have to go slightly larger, right? So, if you're going to do lettering or something, it may need to be bigger. So that way you get, enough visual contrast. Maybe like Stephen was saying, you don't have as many midtones. It's more of a, really dark darks and then the lightest light, which would be the flesh itself. Um, Lighter colored inks, white ink, for example, it's not opaque. It's not a white paint. You can apply it a few times and then you can make something slightly lighter, but even still, it's you
Once
can't
it
really rely.
heals, you still have to take into consideration the healing of that skin tone.
Mm.
Right. Exactly. The healing of various, everybody heals a little differently. It depends on a lot of different factors. And, and tattoos are always, it always changes the surface. You know what I mean? Rather than say like they all scar, which they maybe kind of do, like a little to a certain degree, it's going to be it's definitely different. The texture of your skin is altered forever.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, there's all kinds of factors that go into it, and um, when you just design on white paper, really doesn't give you an accurate picture of how the needs of that particular client. Medusa.
Hi, sorry to keep talking. So one trick that I've been learning because I want to be more flexible with my clientele as a tattoo artist and be able to serve a variety of people with different skin tones. As like, first of all, white paper is a betrayal to everybody. Like nobody's skin is actually Snow
Even I'm
White.
not
And if
that.
they are, like, man,
You might want to go to the doctor.
Yeah, like see a fucking doctor.
Probably need a blood transfusion.
Yeah. So one thing I've been doing for my art is for the past couple of months, actually, I stopped buying white paper. I have everything on tan or gray toned things, like this project I'm working on right now, tan paper. I've got a gray tone sketch pad so I can practice with my black and white on a mid-tone already there. All of my paintings are on tan toned. I can and it like, because yeah, white's a betrayal. Nothing's fucking white. That's stupid. Why do they make white paper? It doesn't even make sense. Well, for artists, come on. I mean, like, and when you're painting a canvas, you're not painting on white anyways. Almost, well, I mean, some people do, but most people will like put a base layer down to tone down the canvas as is. I don't know why they aren't just selling canvases already toned. Like, they're white all the time. I'm just like, bitch.
They just finally started selling black canvases.
Yeah, I saw
Oh.
that. That's really cool.
They're,
But yeah,
they're not going to catch up with us very soon.
yeah, the one way to like really practice your values as far as like, art by hand, not digital art and everything, is to just start buying toned paper.
Hmm.
It really teaches you a lot of flexibility too. And it also is way better to teach you where to put on those white highlights because it's not already white. So that's cool. Anyways, that's just my 3 cents. Not 2 cents because it's a little bit too much.
I might steal that.
So, I agree that there's again, for for tattooing purposes and stuff, or for thinking about tattoos, again, with white paper, can lead you into false sense of things. Um, but again, in terms of contrast, in terms of like making things really distinct, it's nice that we have that range of values that we can play with. And so, in part, it's like there's also something that happens, you know, um, with white paper, let's say for instance, or white canvas or something like that, where it's actually, why does it look that way? Well, because it's reflecting like the spectrum of light back to us. Like from a theoretical point of view, there is no white. It's not really a color. It's always some sort of color, right? Like the word, white and black, they're
Neutral.
yeah, they're generalities, right? Yeah, yeah. um, Even neutral, right? Once you kind of get to this point of like it's like pure neutrality, it's not that. It's like it's a slightly warmer, or it's slightly cooler, right? It's like there's always this sort of like there's no purity, right? Like so even though like this pure red or something or pure yellow or pure blue, whatever you wanna say, as soon as you get to that point, it's not that. It's always going to be relative and related. So when so for example, like oil paint is all translucent, right? It's not opaque. So what is magical about oil painting is that like light actually goes into the surface, reflects off the canvas itself, and comes back through the paint, kind of almost providing this somewhat of a luminosity to it. Watercolor is the same thing. Watercolor is transparent. So again, it's like there's this reflection that happens. And so it almost brings a sort of light out of those surfaces. Um, so uh, I think there's a real drawback sort of relying on what you can do on paper, what you can do on tablet, um, versus what you can do on skin. But there's also a flip side to that. Like you can do stuff on skin that's just not the same thing as you can do in a painting or you can do in a drawing, right? There's a magic to the skin as well. Because tattoo ink is also translucent, right? It's again, there's going to be light that goes through the surface and comes back out, and it's there's a beauty and a magic to it. I think that's like it's specific to any media that you're going to engage with. So
Mm.
um, so I think it's important to recognize the distinctions, but then there's also something that's really beautiful about again those distinctions, about exactly what makes something particular. And so those are the again, you know, your use one thing becomes a means to an end, right? So I think about someone like you know Sean Barber paints paintings of people with tattoos often, right? That's a subject that he likes to cover. So in a certain way, like all the person's tattoos that they have they're kind of a means to his ends, right? Like so we draw on paper, that's our means to get to the ends for we're gonna do a tattoo. But here it is like sort of the art like kind of you know is copying life. And so uh, so anyway, so all this life is this means to the ends for art in a certain way. I don't know, it's kind of funny, um but yeah.
It's like Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing a painting of someone who got a tattoo of.
Nice. Yeah, a painting of someone who got a tattoo of someone getting a painting of a tattoo, right? Things like forever reflected. It's funny. Um,
Sounds like an Escher print.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, infinitely relatable, right? That's a infinite relatability. Those are the things that I think they provide interest for us. So I guess to sort of tie things together today, you know, relatability and being able to sort of be intentional with those relatabilities can be just, I think they can be really useful. So I hope this presentation was relatable and I
Very
hope
much
it was
so.
useful. No, thank you.
I think it
Um,
simplified a lot of stuff for me.
Thank you. Awesome. Um, well, even though we went over this, I think we'll probably do something different next week because because I don't think this episode went out. This was just us hanging out and doing class, even though nobody else gets to do it. But uh,
Okay, this one's
but
just for the homies.
I hope that you all, as you're designing things and stuff, um, some of this may uh, recur to you. Some of this may be something that you find useful as you're working through. Maybe it helps you out of a jam one day. You're kind of like, how do I relate these things, or how do I make these things distinct? And sort of thinking about continuation, similarity, proximity, helping like tying that through some sort of a closure, through some sort of imaginative relationship. Um, maybe that'll be something that that you find useful. So yeah. Does anybody have any drawings they'd like to share? I'd love to see any artwork that anybody has. If you wanna share some artwork, I'd love to see it.
I don't
Uh,
have. Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
No, you go ahead, girl.
Okay. But no, I don't have any drawings, but I have been doing revisions on some of my pieces from my portfolio if you want to check those out. I need a
Love to.
hot minute though.
Let me see. I think
Oh God. Where are you? Let me see. Okay. So share screen. Can you see it?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this was my original. I turned this into an art exhibition last semester, but I actually did it created this the year before. But my teacher wanted it to be a bit more detailed just because it's very smooth looking. It's very clean looking, but he wanted just a bit more life to it. So I ended up hand painting all of like these little rivets. I added a lot of like edges to it, and I even added panels to my piece just to make it a lot more lifelike, just because it kind of looks like a plane made of jelly in the original one. And I just wanted it to be more lifelike for my my official demo reel that I'm going to be making. So yeah, that's what I've been working on this weekend.
So wait, you're
It
3D.
definitely looks more lifelike.
Yeah.
You're a 3D artist, and you basically built this plane out of like nothing in like the computer.
Yeah, so we start off with, they're called polygon primitives. So we start off with a cube or a cylinder. I believe I started with a cylinder for the main body, cubes for the wings, and then you just kind of add faces and vertices and stuff in order to be able to create more complex shape.
So you
And
just
then
digitally sculpted this with your brains and a computer. You are so cool. Holy crap, that is fascinating. Like your understanding of shapes is rad.
Thank you. Well, you also have to like know how to paint a bit as well, because I did hand paint everything in it's a program called Substance Painter. It comes with the Adobe suite. So basically you can import a virtual 3D model to hand paint directly onto the piece.
Beautiful.
Y'all are so talented.
You are
Also-
too. I checked out your Instagram too, Medusa. You're
Uh-huh.
pretty rad too.
I just love stalking y'all's art. Like right now, I am scrolling through James's
I
portfolio.
actually stalked him the other day too.
Yeah, dude, this is
He's like-
some good shit. Holy fuck.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, I was gonna say I really like all the rivets that you put on the plane. I think that's like it's an interesting detail, and it's like each one has like it's they're like they feel physical, right? There's like light hitting it, so it's like kind of like indents the surface a little bit, right? So
Yeah. You use a normal map to do that. There are different maps that do different things. And you input them, like you have to connect them to certain things in the program in order for that to, it takes the lighting into account and stuff in order to visualize that.
that's awesome. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I love seeing the updates though. So yeah, so
Definitely.
yeah, it's so um so meticulous everything. So but every stage that every time I kind of see it, it's like it's getting a little bit more it's like convincing, right? It's like it's a real it's like a real thing. I kind of believe that I believe like we're seeing 3D models all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We don't register that it's a 3D model. We just sort of like, oh, it's a real thing. That
Yeah.
really exists.
Can't prove it.
Like
With some of my cases,
maybe
I've gotten confused.
yeah, yeah, like whenever, yeah, it's maybe more, maybe right now they're on screens, you know what I mean? But not at, not,
Well,
not
funnily enough,
until
I'll be
then.
watching
Yeah,
a show. I'll be watching a show with somebody, and they'll think it's a cartoon, like a hand drawn one, and it's gotten so good that you can fudge 2D art with 3D models. So they'll be like, oh, I wonder how they drew that. I'm like, that's not drawn. They built that, and they basically puppeteer it around, which is a whole different. I'm not good at animating, but that's a whole different set of skills that like you can fudge different types of animation with each other if you do it a certain way.
So I'd almost say let's go a little bit like in line with your thinking.
Hey, I was gonna say, Stephen, you had some work you were gonna show.
Yeah, sure. I finished my Bob skull over the week.
Oh, cool. So, Bob Tyrell hosted our drawing group, and we were drawing skulls this week. Let's see,
Ah,
neat.
It's got a bit of a glow. It's under glass now.
Yeah, we can see it.
But it's really nice.
Yeah, it's very
yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like how dark you were able to kind of push the
But you don't
eye
have to.
sockets and the nose socket too. I think it's darker than the reference, and I think that helps it, be really readable and effective.
Let me double check and make sure that's.
Yeah. Very cool. And nice details on the teeth and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Well done.
I feel like I could have put more time in the teeth, but I was pretty much over it by the time I, finished those teeth. You know what I'm saying?
I do. It's a lot of work. So is this charcoal or something on paper?
Yeah, it is charcoal. I did not decide to use the stencil, and I just put a grid on my paper, and I drew it. So just wanted to push it a little bit. I haven't done charcoal drawing in a while, so.
That's sick, dude.
It's beautiful.
Did you send Bob a picture of it?
No, I figured I was hoping he'd come in this evening. You think he'll show up?
I'm hoping he will also. I have no idea. So yeah, Bob Tyrell gave us all his phone number last week. So, he was like, just text me if you need anything. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I might send it. If he don't show up, I might send it to him. But I wasn't trying to up, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't want to bug him either. Yeah, but yeah, you should definitely. It's awesome. I'm sure that he'll get a kick out of it. So yeah, definitely send it. Yeah, I hope he shows up today. That'd be very cool. So, but thank you for sharing that. I and also I'm like now I'm wishing that so I did mine graphite, but now I'm like, oh man, it looks really cool in charcoal. I love doing charcoal too, so I think
Do we get to see
I'm
yours, James?
getting inspired. Yeah, I got mine. So
Hey,
Wow, that's great.
thanks.
yeah.
On white
Oh,
paper.
I love
On
I
white
love the
paper.
reflections on like the
Um,
bottoms of the cheeks.
it is yeah, it's not nearly as like it's not nearly as rich, I think was the as the charcoal, but um and I printed mine out. I did the I fell for the trap. I printed mine out. So um I I like the character that you were able to achieve with your Steven. It was it has a um again there's like a sort of unique sort of quality to the drawing part of it, and then all the details and the really deep values you were able to get with the charcoal. So yeah, I'm jealous. I'm like really jealous. So I'm gonna have to work on mine a little bit today before tonight. So
Sounds
but
good.
yeah, that's mine. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Amber, how about you? What have you been working on?
I was sick all week.
Oh no.
Oh
It's not like me to not create something, but I was so sick.
No, it's
I had the flu and a cold.
no. Oh,
feeling
bad
better
Yeah.
luck.
though. Being better on the
Yes,
mend.
I'm feeling much. I didn't even go into the shop. I spent all week going, God, I wish I was better. I want to be at the shop.
Hmm. Well, yeah, no, I'm glad that you're on the mend now, and you know, so no, I saw like I saw something that I think you may put it on Instagram. It was like
Oh, yeah, I actually did that a while ago, but I never posted it after I painted it.
nice.
I had posted the line work, but I didn't post it after I painted it. I'm like, oh shit, I never posted that one. So I posted that, but I did that weeks ago.
Beautiful. No, that's got to be the secret to to posting stuff.
Yeah, save
You
it
gotta
up and
stay one
post
step
it
ahead.
later.
Yeah.
Medusa, what are you working on?
Stuff. I'm not going to scare Elise with my dead stuff.
No, don't. It's through a screen. It'll be fine.
Well, I've got another rat drying in the windowsill for when the sun comes up and bakes it so that the skin will harden.
Oh.
Other than
I
so
love taxidermy.
interesting. Not gross at all. Not weird. Not weird, everybody. I'm fairly normal.
I
So
collect
am I.
weird taxidermy.
Huh?
I collect weird taxidermy, so you're fine.
It's super fun. Yeah, I got into mounting beetles too, but I keep dropping them
I saw
because
that.
I'm fucking butterfingers over here. So I spent like 3 hours on Saturday trying to glue on the legs back on a beetle, and I did a horrible job. And he looks so mangled and awful, but he's still cute, and he's got most of his legs.
Oh God.
Yes, I'm not good at
Is he
that.
like?
Yeah, no, actually, he's more like this. And then his second set of legs are more like, oh, oops, I can't display myself. His second set of legs are more of like, and then his other legs are, well, one of them's there. And then yeah, so other than that, I'm making pieces for a shadow box, and I drew this woodland creature, and then I was gonna paint some leaves, but they suck, so I'm gonna color pencil those in instead.
Oh,
But this
nice.
is a combination of like gouache and acrylic ink, and I am going over it with color pencils for finer detail, and then I'm gonna cut those shapes out, place them on top of each other for depth, and use the scrap pieces of this foam board
Mm.
to layer it and
That
make
first-
another shadow box.
Mm.
That first one you did was awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I saw it. It was pretty dope.
Thanks. Yeah, it's at my workstation now, and everybody keeps coming in and being all like, it's cooler in person. And I'm all like, thanks, I did that.
I saw the Zelda stuff you were making too.
That's
Was
for
that
the
was
next
you?
rat.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
he's gonna be Link. I actually right next to the rat in the windowsill is an octorot that I made out of Sculpey and just
Hey.
painted because that's what he's gonna be battling.
Oh my God. I sculpted a little don't you know the little like rabbit, the bloopies? It's called a bloopy from the Breath of the Wild. They're the little like blue guys that run around. I have one of those I sculpted a while ago.
Nice.
He's like
Yeah.
a full-size one though.
Oh, fucking cool. Yeah, this Link guy, I've got a whole scene in mind. I've even made like little Sculpey pots and everything. And I'm using the designs from A Link to the Past, which
Mm.
is, I mean, if you've ever played A Link to the Past, then it's hands down the best Zelda game ever. Undisputed. Nobody can argue with that. Worldwide agreement.
I've never
Consensus.
finished a Zelda game. I always start them and then I get
They're hard.
yeah,
They're
I
really
get
hard.
stumped.
I get to the last boss level and then I'm all like, I did great.
And then I just don't have time anymore with
Yeah, I
school.
have other
Yeah.
things. I have to go like wash my hair or something. But I made it there. I made it to the last boss. So yeah. But I'm doing a Link to the Past theme. So my Octorot is actually probably dry. He needs a second layer of coat. And then I think today, before my tattoo appointment, I'm gonna finish sewing on Link's outfit and make his sword. And then I'll see you next week
Oh God.
with another dead rat.
You know, maybe it's exposure
Yeah, but-
therapy for me.
It's fine.
Immersion therapy.
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, I am I just want to I want to thank everybody for coming today, and please come next week. I'm sure we'll get all the technical issues and stuff fixed. And so again, sorry about that. That's it's not like me. I swear to God, this never happens. But anyway. But yeah, no, thank you again so much for everybody for coming and participating and for sharing your stuff. It's like I look forward to seeing you all on Mondays, and it's really kind of like something that I really treasure, and I really like it's super meaningful for me to be able to share some stuff with you as well. So anyway, we'll see you next week, and I hope you all have a great week, and draw, and yeah, good luck on your tattoo appointment today, Medusa.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Fall asleep.
No, don't fall asleep. You gotta be careful, right?
No
Don't fall asleep at
promises.
the tattoo shop. It should be a rule, just like
Yeah.
Steven said. Like you may wake up with something you didn't want.
Don't fall asleep at the bar. Don't fall asleep at the tattoo
No.
shop.
Oh God. Am I gonna have I probably have a wanted poster up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because you did. Yeah.
Wanted, not wanted.
Yeah. Let's make it a principle of tattooing. Like, don't fall asleep during tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So. But yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna go, and so thanks again, everybody, and I'll see you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Have a good
Bye.
week.
Thanks. Bye.